I want to welcome Tom Barcellos. He'll be our keynote speaker tonight. And we don't know exactly what he's going to bring, but I believe it'll be ag, water. So it's all yours, so you can take it wherever you want.
All right, thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. As you know, I'm a farmer. It says Barcellos Farms. So what we do is we plant seeds. So I'm going to plant some seeds here tonight, and then you guys are going to make it grow with your questions, because I find it to be a lot better and a lot easier on me. I don't have to talk as much because you guys spend a lot of time asking questions, and I give you a real short answer. So, and I love that Star Spangled Banner version. I almost wore my ZZ Top t-shirt tonight. Come up low. My wife wouldn't let me out of the house with it.
Still gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, love it. So anyway, I'm going to touch a little bit on water, on immigration, on some things that go on in Congress in general. I was really intrigued by Article 2, Section 3 that we went over, because in Fresno, when then candidate Trump was here, I had the opportunity. I was one of a very small group of about 20 farmers who got to meet with him. And what I found most interesting that kind of put me on his team was the fact that he said, we've got to find out how to fix things, and if people won't work with me, I'll find the ones that will. And you've seen some of that. People will raise hell because he's talked to Pelosi and Schumer, but he couldn't get things done in other places. He's had people appointed and had them removed. It's been called turmoil, but you know what? There's been so many roadblocks thrown in front of him, I'm surprised he hasn't shot somebody yet. Because he does have a Second Amendment right as well. So, Sacramento is no better. We have water issues that we have to deal with here in California. You guys know that we had a 5-year drought, and the drought is technically over, but it's not. You know, we had 88% of the available water that flowed through the delta ended up going right out the ocean. We were only able to capture and utilize the balance, a very small amount. 48 million acre-feet of water went out, and we only used 6 million. And we used it. Some of it's in storage, some of it's gone out to farms and communities. And I'll explain something. If you guys know what an acre-foot of water is, that's 1 acre, 1 foot deep. And I sit on the Lower Tule Irrigation District Board, which is based in Tipton, and we have 100,000 acres in our district, and we percolated into the underground, just our district, 200,000 acre-feet of water that the farmers of that district paid for. And some of the recipients of that water are the small communities, Poplar, Woodville, Tipton, Pixley, and everything. That helps because they pump their groundwater for their wells in their homes, and they don't contribute to that. So, we're all in it together, and, so we count on them to help us vote for things and help get things done. You've just been hearing recently about the twin tunnels that the governor is really proposing. 1984, there was a ballot measure for the peripheral canal, and it was voted down because it was promoted as Los Angeles water grab. And what's really interesting is that a good portion of that canal was built and is in place. And you can find it on a map if you know where it's at, but when they built Interstate 5 along the west side going up into Sacramento, there's miles sections of the peripheral canal made where they used as borrow pits to get the dirt to build all that highway up. So there's things that are already somewhat in place that you could utilize or capitalize on, but we have environmental issues that just do nothing but throw roadblocks at you every step of the way. So I'm not saying I'm for or against. I'm just saying that we have to do a better job of managing what we have for the benefit of the people and the communities and the farms, because the farms is what provides jobs in this area. The 3 highest producing counties in the United States: Kern, Tulare, Fresno County. $20 billion in ag revenue. And look at all the jobs that go associated with it. You see the Land O'Lakes plant. You see, I mean, and that's because my milk goes there too, but I mean, you look at all of these businesses that are ag related. You know, I'm also a member of My Job Depends on Ag. I don't know how many of you guys know it, but if you see these little green California stickers on a windshield that have an AG on it, those are people who support that. So you add 5 more counties and you'll get another $10 billion. So if you pick up Kings, Madera, Merced, San Joaquin, and Tuolumne, you know, you have $30 billion of ag revenue right here in the South Valley. That's huge. We don't need a high-speed train to have people come and live over here to go work somewhere else. That's not to our benefit, but that's one of the reasons why, and Lynn was going to bring it up, but I'll throw it out there ahead of time. There was just a bill passed on cap and trade, which allows the cap and trade auction. It's related to climate change, greenhouse gases, and a lot of ag supported it, and I didn't support it. I hated it. I think it's a joke. But the challenge there is, it's like every other bill, whether it's in the state or whether it's federal, it seems like we're going to pick that one because it's the lesser of the evils that we have to deal with. That's just the way it's been. I've been in Washington probably 30 times lobbying between my stint as chairman of Western United Dairymen. I'm on the Farm Bureau board. I was 15-year delegate with Land O'Lakes, and you know, I do it because if I don't get involved, who will? And you know, it's frustrating because you really think you're doing something good, and at the end of the day, you always have to settle. You never really get what's right because everything's a trade-off, which takes me right into immigration. 18 years ago, we were this close to having an immigration bill done, and it fell apart. And I was talking to somebody, a good friend of mine that's in Washington, and I says, why can't we finish this? He says, well, because they don't want it finished. If you look at the 12 million illegal immigrants in the United States, and I'm all for the ones that are here, that are working hard, that are family members, that contribute to the community. You know, the other ones that are felons and problems and leeches, well, you know, I don't limit that just to the immigrants. I think that should be anybody that doesn't contribute, you know, is a problem. But to put things into perspective, in a 2010 study, the illegal immigration population paid over $13 billion into the Social Security system. And they're not going to get any of that back. So as far as the government looks at it, and I say government in general, you know, I'm not picking out one or the other, and there's people who want to fix it. But so as far as the government's concerned, why fix it when we get 12 to $13 billion free? That's their contribution plus the employer's contribution because they are working people. You know, they exist. Money goes in, money goes out. In addition to that, they paid over $10 billion in state and local taxes. So that's a huge contribution. They're not out there stealing people's jobs because I'll tell you, there's jobs out there that nobody else will do. I think we can agree on that. Anybody that wants to work can work. But the challenge we run into is there's no reason to be married anymore because if you're married, then your wife can't get assistance. She can't get rental assistance. She can't get child support. She can't get all this. And I've seen it, and I know you guys can all look around and you can see it. I saw a couple get divorced 10 years ago. And the only thing that changed was he got a P.O. box. So now he's just got a P.O. box. She's a single mother living in a house so she could get rental assistance, utility assistance, child support, all these other different things. It's a reality that's there. And then as you look at the minimum wage that was put out by the state, AB 1066, it's going to take it up to $15 by 2021. That's a problem too, because I had a friend of mine had an employee who worked for him for 12 years, and as soon as this last tick went up, he went and he told me, he said, "Hey, I'm going to quit. My wife got a raise. I don't have to work full time anymore." And that's the harsh realities that are out there. It's a problem. And one of the reasons that bill was passed, I've always paid in my business anywhere from 10 to 25% over minimum wage, because people work hard, they deserve it, and they've got to support their families, and we try to do other things as we can. But the big support for the minimum wage going up was the unions up in Sacramento. And you wonder, well, why would they want to do that? Because that would almost take away their opportunity to go and try to unionize to get people to buy in so then they could push for a higher wage. Well, it's because all the public employees unions, their contracts are tied to the minimum wage. So as minimum wage goes up, theirs automatically goes up. And, you know, I mean, I'm not picking on anybody here that's a union member. Please don't mistake me, but that's what is a problem as you're trying to operate a business, when things are being dictated to you, when all of your fixed costs are going up. Climate change, the cap and trade for the bullet train, lesser of two evils, but it was, if we don't vote for that, we know what our fixed costs are going to be. What are we going to get otherwise? So, you know, I've touched on quite a few different things, and I see some looks out there that I'm already getting excited because I'm going to get some good questions. So let's roll into the Q&A, because that's where we really have fun. Oh, come on.
You ever do any lobbying up there?
Yes.
Quite a bit, probably.
I've done more in Washington than I've done in Sacramento, and it's easier to get things done in Washington because Sacramento is so polarized to the left that they don't have to make a deal. In other words, it used to be, you know, everybody had a chance. Hey, we can do this, we can do that, and you meet in the middle somewhere. That's not the case anymore, especially in Sacramento. So it's frustrating to say the least.
So, what do you think? It's mostly difference between coast and big cities and rural, basically.
That is the case, and then also you have to look at, you know, what you have up there. It's population based. So, you know, the city of LA has so many representatives. I mean, you've seen the charts where the counties, the ag areas, the urban areas that people work, and then the city areas, and you can define, you know, where the businesses are located and where the population centers are, and it's just as blue and red as it could be. I don't know that that'll ever be fixed because there's no reason for anybody to say, hey, I'm going to vote for that because I have something to trade off to get here later, and you can meet in the middle. There's too many that got their hands in people's pockets, and you know, those of us that are here are frustrated.
What do you see as far as immigration thing going on? End game would that be? You know, as far as
The immigration, I believe, has a chance to get something done as long as it doesn't have amnesty. So I've been a long believer that anybody that can document that they've been here working, even if it's on false papers, somebody say, well, that's against the law, they're a criminal now. How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? You know, they have children here. The DREAM Act, I fully support getting rid of it in the sense that now put it in Congress's lap to fix it. Now I pray to God that they will fix it.
Do you know they passed the sanctuary state?
Yeah, and if you talk to, I talked to Sheriff Boudreaux about it, and if you listen to Sheriff Mims, and they're just frustrated because their hands are tied. But there's ways around to get some things organized so they can say, hey, we know who they are, we got an idea. They have some chances to look at things. Yes?
You know, everything you said, I'm in the same business area, I understand, I know. One thing bothered me, I've been driving hard to try to see how do we do better, what can we do, and I go, listen, and talk. One thing you said really bothered me, because it gives me no hope. You said you don't know how to ever change. I might as well go home.
But Terry, I didn't say give up. I didn't say give up.
You
but
need to tell me how you think it could. How do we attack this situation? That's what I'm looking for. When the Republicans go out and advertise for anything that they think is good for us, they never get to the bone. They generalize. Like Prop 13. It's up there now, they're going to try to beat up on us. It's going to affect all of you. But when the advertising starts coming out, it's going to be all about property owners have got everything. We need to get more of their money to take care of the schools. You renters got your kids going to school. You guys are going to pay more for that. You're going to pay more for all this other stuff. They never say, renters beware. Your rent's going up. That's the only thing that the suburban people, the people that live in the cities, will worry about, is their rent going up. They're going to feel the fuel, and they're going to feel the vehicle tax. But this Prop 13 is huge. It could vary all of us. And they're not going to feel that. They're not going to be told they're going to feel that. They need to be told that. But they're never going to hear it. And I don't know how we hear people up to hear the bad things. You vote for this guy because you're a Democrat, and you've been a Democrat all your life, so you're going to vote for him. He's going to give you lots of good things. But he's going to give you abortion. He's going to give you the ability to kill babies. So we should be saying, do you believe in God? And they say, sure. Then why do you kill babies? What are you killing them for? They either think about it and they really believe, and they got to think about or they don't care anyway. And there's a lot of them over there that vote office the way I vote, that think it's good because it's a woman's choice. Well, so they call it pro-choice. Hey, everything's pro-choice. Everybody's got a choice for everything. I call it pro-life or pro-death. And we're not hard about that. We don't get out and shovel that because it's not politically correct. So if that's not going to change, if we're not going to start standing up and arguing those directions or discussing them because we're afraid of what they're going to do to us, we might as well go home.
Well, you make a very valid point, but I'll tell you what's different now than what it used to be. And everybody knows what it is. It's called social media. And it's getting to be to where people have more understanding and are seeing more things and asking more questions. And the challenge is going to be sure that you put it in a form that you can be trusted. I mean, I read a lot of stuff. Everybody loves fake news, as they say about it now. But there's a lot of factual stuff that's coming out that people are starting to get a hold of and understanding. And that's how you get it. Who reads a newspaper anymore? It doesn't even come on time.
I made that argument when did Devin Mathis run the first time? 2 years ago? 2.5?
Yeah, 2.5 years ago.
4 already. It's gone by that quick. I made that point when he was running, we had those lunches and picnics.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of the farmers and dairymen there. And two things that I stressed is number one, and this is why they, a lot of them back in the time, you gotta keep the people fed. You gotta tell them what's going on up there so they all understand. So that when you do something, they know why you did it. They don't just hear afterwards and say, boo, they know. Which didn't come to fruition. The other thing is I made a big kick on the water because I spent a lot of years in the water studying the things that were going on because of the nature of our business, being ag, and knowing that that's when we're going to get hurt. And I said to the farmers there, you guys know how you beat this? Social media. Your wives are on their telephones all the time talking to one another. Why aren't they spitting it out there? Why aren't you guys spitting it out there? So here you are 4 years later telling me that's going to help us.
It takes time. That thing doesn't happen overnight, and not only that, let's face it, we're calm, we're sensible, and we're disciplined on and deliberate on what we try to do and put out. We try to make it truthful, understandable, and granted, we're fighting the screaming eagles. You know, the ones that are just sitting there and getting attention. But you know what? At some point, that credibility starts to run out. The minute you lose your integrity, you have no chance.
I agree.
So the best thing we can do is educate, and it's a slow and painful process. And, you know, sometimes some of these bills that get signed into law have to burn people before you go and pass another bill to get rid of it. And, you know, I think the repeal of the gas tax is a really good opportunity. You know, it's building steam, it's been introduced, and the first thing that a judge did just a couple days ago, he told Attorney General Becerra, if that's how you pronounce his name, I know his first name's Xavier, but he told him, he says, you have to rewrite your title and summary. Because the title and summary was slanted and biased to say you're going to lose transportation funding. It doesn't say that you're going to keep the same transportation funding as you had in the past and you just won't pay more. It doesn't say that it's going to save you money on your gas tax. It doesn't say. He had it all twisted up like, oh, if you vote for this, you're going to lose all this and your roads will get worse. What they need to do is they need to pass an initiative that says your gas tax will go to roads instead of all these other programs.
Yes.
Because I pay about $17,000 a year in weight fees on my trucks and all my commodities that don't go to the roads. So all we got to do is we got to find a way to make sure that what it's collected for is what it goes for. That's what we got to focus on, and that's how you're going to get this initiative to pass in November.
So now, down deep, you really do believe it can pay.
But you got to do it right. You have to be respectful, and you have to be the bigger man or the bigger
I
lady.
feel better now.
I'm not talking about size ladies, I'm just saying. You have to be,
Thank you.
there is hope there. There is hope. Yes.
Talking about money going to where it's supposed to, how many water bills have they passed over the last 5, 6 years that's supposed to go for new projects, and the money's supposedly been approved, and nobody's spent anything to do anything? Where's that money?
I'll give you a good example. Because we just finished with this. Success Dam.
Yeah.
All right, 14 years ago, there was a proposal to enlarge the spillway and raise it 6 feet.
Right.
That was going to add another 20,000 acre-feet of storage to Lake Success that would have helped the communities and the farmers and everybody downstream. Well, that's when all of a sudden it became a concern about, well, if there's an earthquake, this thing could topple. So the Army Corps of Engineers for 14 years did these studies, did this, did that, spent $400 million through all of this and kept that lake at limited of 50% of capacity.
Right.
All that time. And last year, they said, oh, there's no danger. Now you guys can go ahead and build it. It would have been $14 million to make the improvement 14 years ago. And it's $35 million now, plus they put a 20% contingency on it. And who in the hell can't figure it closer than a 20% contingency? And so now it meets some new rules. It requires another study that's going to take another $1.5 million to study.
Right.
And it ends up like a lot of these projects, it's job security.
Right?
That,
That's right.
Hey, anything we have to do with the state is job security.
That's exactly right.
so 14 years ago, when the Corps of Engineers was having their meetings around the different cities about that,
Yeah.
I was on the board of the lake, and we went to the meetings, and we, recreation and this and this and this and this. And because the lake is agricultural lake. The water in there is for agriculture.
The lake is flood control.
Yeah,
That's the principal
but the
occupation.
water in there is, most of it is farmer water.
Yes, it's spoken for by the
And the recreation,
irrigation
it
district.
says, the recreation water is at the bottom.
Yeah.
Where all the sediment is.
3,000 acre feet.
So you got, 20 feet of mud, that's yours.
Yeah.
Anyway, we went around to these things and voiced our opinion. And the Corps of Engineers come in and says, yeah, okay, listen. When they left, they know what they were gonna do before they ever got here. They went back and did what they damn pleased, and what you said didn't make any difference. So, that's how the bureaucrats work. is
Yeah.
They've already got their mind made up, and they'll listen to you at the town hall, but
Yeah. Now, I will tell you that the new commander and the deputy commander have been on the job for 6 months, and they've gotten more done in the last 6 months than the previous 6 years from the other commanders, because they came in, they says, you know what?
Yeah.
You guys have made a case, we've been wasting money, we're gonna get it done.
Yeah.
So I'm encouraged by that.
yeah.
But don't you think a lot of these problems, there's no accountability? I mean, somebody at home does something wrong, you're gonna be held accountable.
Yeah.
And people just aren't held accountable.
No, you're exactly right. And, the agencies are spending your money.
Yeah.
It's never their money. They're building a roundabout east of Tipton on Highway 190. For those of you that go, from 99 to Porterville, if you take Highway 190 up to the lake, they're building a roundabout out there right by me. And I can't describe it in any other way other than asinine.
I've been trying to, I got
So-
lost on there one day.
Yeah.
That's agenda 21. The roundabouts are all part of agenda 21.
Yeah, well, there's gonna be some more coming, but one of the things about it is they have these curves, and we told them when we met with Caltrans, is we're not gonna be able to take our farm equipment from this side of the road to that side of the road. Because they put these little stupid curves and curls in there, and we're not gonna be able to get through there. Any trucks are gonna be, as you see at the one up by the lake, they're gonna be leaving black marks all over it.
Oh, yeah.
And better than that, it's 5 miles from Tipton, it's 6 miles from Poplar, 8 miles from Woodville, 10 miles from Pixley, and they have 8-foot sidewalks all the way around it, along with the little ramps and the bumpers in case you're in a wheelchair or blind.
You got,
Out in the middle of nowhere.
That's your EPA.
That's right. That's right. That's the ADA. And then, in addition to that, they're doing a widening project on 190 from Poplar all the way to 99. And on that east-west when they do the widening project next year, they're actually gonna tear up some of the stuff that they're building right now because their aprons go out so far, they're gonna have to shorten them up and realign them. Why not do it now?
You're right.
So, it's not their money,
Right.
there's no common sense, there's no accountability. So, yeah.
Well,
we're
they got
having a
that
time.
issue right now at the new Costco in Hanford, that roundabout on 43, and people trying to figure out how in the world people aren't used to it.
Yeah,
And it's just like, yeah, and the curb, like you said, the trucks, you can just see where they're running over the curb,
Yeah.
and the posts that are there are no longer there, they're over.
yeah, a roundabout can be a great thing. I'm of Portuguese descent. In the Azores Islands, they work great. But you know what? They're 3 times the size, and the cars are 3 times smaller.
You're right.
So if it's sized right, it can work.
Yeah.
But it's idiotic to put it where it is under the circumstances they have it, so.
I was just going to tell you with all due respect, I completely disagree with you on immigration. I know you talked about illegal aliens coming and giving or putting money in Social Security and some of these taxes. But you're not talking about what they're costing us. I work in the K-14 education system, and I see it every day. And I see the ridiculousness that goes on. And I see the attitudes of these DACA kids and these dreamers. All you have to do is turn the TV on and see what, look, I mean, they're turning on Pelosi.
Right.
And I'm speaking from a place of being a beneficiary of Reagan's amnesty, okay? Which I completely disagree with. I think he made an enormous mistake when he did that. Even though I benefited.
Somebody want to throw her out? But see, we can talk
No.
about this, so I
Yeah.
appreciate this.
He made an enormous mistake. And I'm telling you that when my parents came here illegally, it was a different breed, is what I like to call it, than the people that had been coming after them. And I'm speaking from having family, having friends that are here illegally. And I'd be the first to kick them out because they've come here simply to take. Simply to take. I've witnessed it. I've witnessed growing up, hearing people coming here illegally because it affected me personally because my parents were a hub. Like many other illegal alien homes, families, it becomes this place where they just come in and come out, come in and come out. And there is a lot of turmoil in that no one, unless you've lived it and experienced it, have no clue. But also hearing what they say, the things that they talk about, the way they laugh at American citizens, I can't take it. And it was an interesting day the day I sat down with my mom. And now my parents never took anything from the government other than our public schooling, where, you know, it was
Everybody
public
gets
school.
it.
So we got put in. Eventually they bought their own home, so then they started paying property taxes and they paid into that. But my dad, I mean, I'm from Kalinga, so I was there when the earthquake, our house fell. My dad wasn't going to take anything. This is the attitude he had and the work ethic that he had. He didn't want the insurance money so that we could rebuild the house, even though we paid into it, right? Because he thought it had something to do with the government or taking from the government. He didn't want anything. That's not the people that we're dealing with anymore. At least the majority are not those people anymore. And I talk about that from experience, from seeing it, from hearing it, from growing up with it. But sitting down with my mom, and when we talk, and we are very, she agrees with me, but she won't say it because she feels like she's a hypocrite.
Yeah.
I have no issues with it. I'm like, I don't care. And I think I coined here the term amnesty guilt. So there's a lot of people like me who benefited from Reagan's amnesty, who are doing good, but we see the problems and we see why that was a huge mistake. another amnesty or another DACA, anything is a mistake unless it's very, very strict and narrow, and that there's no citizenship path, period. And chain migration stops. No birthright citizenship, because my sister was an anchor baby. My parents came here hoping to become citizens when she was born here. So I know when people say there's no such thing, yeah, there is. And there is such a word, you just don't coin it that way because you're all offended. But it's true. And so I see now how things are affected for my son, for the American citizen, and looking at how education dollars can't be used correctly because you're using the bulk of it to be able to help kids learn English. I could have swore that should have ended when Reagan gave an amnesty, right?
Yeah.
That should have ended, but it's not, and it's getting worse. And the attitude, my thing is, we were taught to be humble, and we were taught to work hard for what we wanted, not to have a handout. That is not the attitude of these kids. It is not. It is, you owe me, and that pisses me off. And so because of that, I'm against most of it to the very core. Now, I do think that a lot of it hasn't gotten fixed, and again, I don't want to disrespect anyone, but because it's not in the best interest of certain industries to have this cheap labor go away, unfortunately. And it's a reality that I think can be addressed with some kind of program, but not legalizing, and it's not 11 million people. We know that it's probably double that of the amount of people. But this is my country, and this is the country I love, and this is the country that has given me all the opportunities. But I acknowledge it, and I'm thankful for the country and for its citizens, and I can say that I have never felt like I was ever made to be, felt like I was less than because I was of Mexican descent. And I've never had an issue growing up in Colingo with any kind of racism. When I hear a lot of people talk about that, I'm like, I've never. And so I'm not saying it doesn't happen and that people aren't targeted because of where they come from at times, but I think it's very minute and it's used in an inflammatory way. And so I have very little tolerance for people who are here illegally and that pretend that they have a right or demand rights that belong to citizens. So that's yes, and I will not interrupt.
No, and I owe you an apology. The reason is because I planted a seed and I didn't develop on it enough because I left it at hardworking families, at good people, the kind of people that your parents were. Okay? DACA, I'm glad that it's gone. Congress needs to fix it. When I said Congress needs to fix it, they need to fix it for the people. I didn't say amnesty. Legal work status so that things can be fixed. And I understand that there's places and certain industries, I'm not one of them. I pay my people well. But the fact of the matter is, you're exactly right. I've 28 years on the school board. 95% of our kids are English learners. And we've been in the top 10% of the county. We've had computers before any other ones, and still it's gimme, gimme, gimme. I know exactly what you're talking about. You said it way better than I could even dream of. So we're on exactly the same page. I just didn't expand on it like I should have, and I thank you for doing that. So, see, I can eat humble pie too because, you know, I mean, there's so much, that's a social media post that needs to be there.
Yeah.
Because I can't describe that. I haven't lived it, you have. But I know your parents. I know that kind of person. We've had those same families. You know, my dad was 3 years old when he immigrated. He didn't have a whole lot of choice, you know, but he became a naturalized citizen. And so I know exactly what you're saying, and the kind of work ethic, and it's not there anymore. Our own kids don't have it. And those families, I know fourth generation welfare. I'm sure everybody does. How do you fix it? Is it too late? I don't know.
It's a family, that's where it boils down to, is
The family
families
structure.
breaking up. That's our big problem in our society.
And truthfully, it's like I said, the family structure that has no benefit, because why get married when she can get the benefits and
They know
people
the
quit?
system. They know the system.
They know the system, they milk the system. I'm a dairyman, I milk cows, but they milk the system. But thank you for saying that, because you're spot on. I'd almost like for you to write that down so I can share it with you. But you know, it's the hardworking family units that stick together, you know, that have some kind of family unity and contribute to the community. You know, I have parents that come down to the grammar school, and some of them I know are illegal. I'm not going to call anybody to turn them in, because they have jobs, they support the community, they help. They're your family. They're my family. You know, we all work together. But yeah, I mean, there's so many takers, and like I said, I didn't say citizenship, and you know, but thank you. You clarified my point. I agree with you 100%. I think everybody else does too. So, Lynn?
In researching you, I Googled you, and
Okay.
I saw an article about your recycling, and can you talk about your little, what was it, the big battle you had up in Sacramento, and the Sacramento Bee said that you won your battle?
Oh, well, I've done, for 15, actually going on 17 years, I've been doing a thing called conservation tillage. And, you know, it sequesters carbon in the soil, reduces greenhouse gases. I don't believe in organics. If you like organic, good for you. I'm happy for you, because all you're doing is paying more money for the same stuff. But anyway, yeah, it's, you know, we're mandated by the Air Board and the Water Board to do things different. We got to do record keeping and things like that. So I was awarded the Conservation Innovation Award back in 2006. So I don't know which article it was, but I mean, there's things kind of I can't hide. Yeah, just Google yourself once in a while. You'll be surprised what's out there. But yeah, you know, it's, gosh, I got to go back to this, man. That's wonderful. You should have been up there.
She has been. She's
Oh,
one of-
good. I'm sorry, I
She was one
missed
of our
it.
speakers.
Really? Yes, neighbor?
Tom, we were talking, you were mentioning earlier about the water issue, and I find it amazing how much money there is being produced here in this valley, and this valley was always the agriculture nation, you know, it fed all the nations.
Yes.
And so when we moved here, that was such a wonderful thing, and we were appreciated in the San Joaquin Valley. And now I find it so astounding that basically this valley isn't being supported by our state representatives. And we've been updated here and there about the water issue with the 5-year drought. Do you have any updated information on what is being done, or what are they attempting to do? Is there any update or any news on that?
There's a couple of bills now. One of them is called the California Water Fix. It was actually just in the news this week. Westland's water, you know, which has to do with the twin tunnels, the pipes that the government wants to put in the worst way. And Westland's Water District opted out of participating in that because there was no guarantee of additional water. There was just a guarantee of you're going to pay us more money.
Right.
And so, you know, everything has to have a cost-benefit ratio. So that wasn't there. There's another bond that's going to be out there. Potentially, we're working on getting it on the ballot for November. It's a Jerry Merrill bond. It's an $8 billion bond, but there's water for the environment. There's money for repairs of irrigation systems. The Frank Kern Canal has subsided somewhat. It needs to be repaired. There's money for Temperance Flat for additional water. There's money that would be used for Sykes Reservoir. So there's some storage money involved in that one but you know, the reality is even then, when you get it done, somebody sues you, everything stops. You know, you just can't move things forward quickly. We have what they call SGMA coming up, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. That's where they're going to meter all of our wells, all of our ag wells, and you know, they're saying, well, you're only entitled to have maybe, we're looking at about a ½ an acre foot of groundwater. Well, you can't do anything with that, so we really have to depend on our surface water that has been getting filtered out and run down the river. And I'd like to say it was beneficial for the river. They're insisting on getting a spring run salmon. There may be an opportunity to get some of that changed. Senator Feinstein has said, I can't believe we spent all this money over all these years and haven't restored a salmon fishery. There's a fall run salmon that's there that could take that same place to make the language work. But the fall run salmon's not an endangered species, just a spring run. To me, when it's on the plate, it's salmon. I don't care what when it ran, you know. So, but that's kind of what's going on with water, and it's just a constant battle. And truthfully, there's farmers up north of Sacramento that say, forget you guys, we get it first. You just picked where you wanted to live. Well, you know, we got to find a way to kind of get it together, but hopefully we'll get somewhere. Sir?
What's Governor Brown make off of this tunnel thing? Because he doesn't sell the signature for nothing. I mean, if he agrees to this thing, he's going to make some money on it.
I'll tell you the truth, if I knew, I'd make some money on him because I'd blackmail his ass. You know, it's kind of like